I stood there in my simple dress, while my mother-in-law's eyes burned with disgust. "You don't belong here," she hissed at her own son's wedding reception. Little did she know, the woman she was trying to humiliate owned the very mansion we were standing in. Before we dive into this jaw-dropping story of revenge and justice, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss stories like this. And stick around until the end, because the twist will leave you speechless. My name is Angela, and I'm about to tell you the most satisfying story of my life. It happened 3 months ago at my sister-in-law's wedding. And honestly, I still can't believe how it all unfolded. But let me start from the beginning, because context is everything. I've been married to Benjamin for 3 years now. He's a good man, kind-hearted, works as a teacher at the local high school. We met at a coffee shop where I was working on my laptop, building what would eventually become my tech company. He thought I was just another struggling freelancer, grabbing free Wi-Fi. I never corrected him, and honestly, I liked that he fell for me without knowing anything about my bank account. You see, I'm what you might call quietly wealthy. I built my company from nothing, started coding in my tiny studio apartment, and somehow managed to create software that revolutionized inventory management for small businesses. The company took off faster than I ever imagined. And by the time Benjamin and I got married, I was worth several $1,000,000. But I've always lived simply. I drive a modest car, shop at regular stores, and I definitely don't flash designer labels or expensive jewelry. Benjamin knows about my success, of course, but even he doesn't know the full extent of it. I've always believed that money should work quietly in the background of your life, not announce itself to everyone around you. My husband fell in love with me, not my portfolio, and I wanted to keep it that way with his family too. Which brings me to Diane, my mother-in-law. From day one, this woman has looked at me like I crawled out of a sewer. It started with little comments about my hair, my clothes, the way I spoke. She'd make these passive-aggressive remarks about Benjamin settling, or how she hoped he'd find someone more suitable for their family. When Benjamin wasn't around, the gloves came off completely. She'd question my education, my background, make snide comments about my skin color that she thought were too subtle to call out. Benjamin would get frustrated when I'd mention these interactions. "Mom's just old-fashioned," he'd say. "She'll come around." But I knew better. Diane didn't want me to come around. She wanted me gone. So when Benjamin's sister Jessica announced her engagement, I knew the wedding was going to be a battlefield. Jessica herself was sweet enough, but I could see the family dynamics at play. This was going to be Diane's chance to show everyone what a proper family celebration looked like, with me standing there as the obvious outsider. The wedding was planned for the Rosewood Country Club, one of those old money establishments that still feels like it's living in 1950. All marble columns and crystal chandeliers, the kind of place where they probably still have membership requirements that would make your grandmother blush. Benjamin was excited about it, kept talking about how elegant it would be, how his family had been dreaming of hosting an event there for years. I didn't have the heart to tell him that I'd actually looked into buying the place 6 months earlier. Let me explain. As my company grew, I started diversifying my investments. Real estate became a particular interest of mine, especially properties with historical significance or unique character. When Rosewood Country Club went up for sale quietly last year, I saw the potential immediately. The previous owners had let it decline, but the bones were gorgeous, and the location was prime. I bought it through one of my holding companies, along with the catering business they used, and the floral company that did all their arrangements. I hadn't told Benjamin because, honestly, I was planning to surprise him. I thought it would be fun to reveal it after the wedding. Maybe suggest we have our anniversary parties there. I had no idea it would become the stage for the most dramatic confrontation of my marriage. The morning of the wedding, I chose my outfit carefully. I wanted to look elegant, but not flashy. Appropriate, but not trying too hard. I settled on a navy blue dress, simple lines, modest neckline, paired with pearl earrings that had been my grandmother's. Looking in the mirror, I felt confident and beautiful. Benjamin kissed my cheek and told me I looked perfect. I should have known Diane would find something wrong with it. The ceremony itself went smoothly. I sat in the second row with Benjamin, watching Jessica walk down the aisle, in a dress that probably cost more than most people's cars. The whole event was beautiful. I'll give them that. Flowers everywhere, string quartet, the works. Benjamin squeezed my hand during the vows. And for a moment, I felt like maybe this would be okay. Maybe Diane would be too busy with hostess duties to focus her negativity on me. I was so naive. The reception started with cocktail hour, and that's when the whispers began. I'd walk up to a group of Benjamin's relatives, and conversations would suddenly stop. Smiles would become strained. I'd hear fragments of sentences that made my stomach clench. Don't know what Benjamin was thinking. Clearly not from our social circle. Such a shame. He had so much potential. Benjamin was caught up in best man duties, taking photos, giving toasts, making sure everything ran smoothly for his sister. I didn't want to burden him with family drama on such an important day, so I smiled and made small talk and pretended not to notice the ice in everyone's voices. Then Diane cornered me by the champagne fountain. "Angela," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "That's certainly an interesting choice of dress." "Thank you," I replied, though I could hear the criticism hiding behind her compliment. "It's so simple. I suppose not everyone can appreciate the finer things." She looked me up and down, like I was wearing a burlap sack. "I just worry that you don't quite understand the level of sophistication we expect at family events." I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice level. "I think I understand perfectly. Do you?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice so the other guests couldn't hear. "Because frankly, dear, I'm not sure you do. This family has certain standards, certain expectations about breeding and background. We've worked very hard to maintain our reputation in this community." The word breeding hit me like a slap. She might as well have said, "Know your place." I could feel the anger building in my chest, but I forced myself to breathe slowly. "Is there something specific you'd like to discuss, Diane?" Her mask slipped completely. "I think you know exactly what I mean. My son deserves someone who can match his social standing, someone who understands our world. You're clearly from a very different background." The way she said different made it clear she wasn't talking about geography. "And what background would that be?" I asked quietly. She looked around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned in close. "Don't play dumb with me. Everyone can see you don't belong here. Your clothes, your mannerisms, your everything. You're embarrassing Benjamin, and frankly, you're embarrassing this family." I stood there absorbing her words, feeling the familiar sting of being judged by the color of my skin, by assumptions people made about my worth based on nothing but their own prejudices. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't a powerless target. "I see," I said calmly. "And what exactly do you suggest I do about that?" Diane's eyes lit up like she'd been waiting for this question her whole life. "I think it would be best if you left. Now, before you cause any more awkwardness for everyone." The conversations around us had started to quiet. Other guests were noticing our tense exchange, and I could feel their attention shifting toward us like a spotlight. "You want me to leave my sister-in-law's wedding reception?" I asked, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "I want you to do what's best for this family," Diane replied, raising her voice to match mine. "You clearly don't understand our standards or our traditions. This is a celebration of family, real family, and you're just not part of that." The champagne fountain might as well have stopped flowing. Half the reception was staring at us now, and I could see the shock on people's faces. Some looked embarrassed, others looked curious, and a few looked like they were enjoying the drama. Benjamin finally noticed the commotion and started walking toward us, his face confused and concerned. "Mom, what's going on?" he called out. Diane turned to him with tears in her eyes, playing the victim perfectly. "Benjamin, honey, I tried to handle this quietly, but your wife is causing a scene. She's making everyone uncomfortable, and I really think it would be best if she left so we can enjoy Jessica's special day in peace." Benjamin looked between us, clearly trying to process what was happening. "I don't understand." "Angela, what?" "Your mother has made it clear that I'm not welcome here," I said simply. "That's ridiculous," Benjamin started, but Diane cut him off. "Benjamin, you have to choose. Right now, your family has been nothing but gracious to this woman, and she's repaying us by embarrassing us at your sister's wedding. If you care about this family at all, if you respect everything we've built and worked for, you'll ask her to leave." The silence that followed was deafening. Every guest within earshot was frozen, waiting to see what would happen next. Jessica had stopped dancing and was staring at us from across the room. Even the string quartet had faltered. Benjamin looked trapped, torn between defending his wife and keeping peace with his family. I could see the anguish in his eyes, and honestly, I felt sorry for him. This wasn't his fault. "It's okay," I said quietly, putting my hand on his arm. "I think there's been a misunderstanding, but it's nothing that can't be resolved." I turned to Diane, whose face was flushed with victory. She thought she'd won. "You're absolutely right," I told her. "I think it would be best if I stepped outside for a moment. Get some fresh air, make a phone call." The relief on Diane's face was almost comical. "I think that's very wise, dear." I kissed Benjamin's cheek and whispered, "Trust me, this isn't over." Then I walked calmly toward the exit, feeling dozens of eyes following me. I could hear the conversations starting up again behind me, the excited whispers of people who couldn't wait to dissect what they'd just witnessed. Outside, the evening air was cool and crisp. I took a deep breath, pulled out my phone, and made a call. "Robert, it's Angela." "Yes, I know it's Saturday evening. I need you to send the car to Rosewood." "Yes, the long car, and bring the property files, the vendor contracts, and the ownership documents. Everything." "How long?" "Perfect. 20 minutes. Benjamin followed me outside, looking stricken. "Angela, I am so sorry. I had no idea she would." "It's not your fault," I said, checking the time on my phone. "Your mother made her position very clear. She thinks I don't belong here, that I'm not good enough for your family." "That's insane. You're my wife. You're brilliant. You're successful." "She doesn't know that," I interrupted gently. "She sees what she wants to see, a black woman who doesn't fit her narrow definition of acceptable, someone who needs to be put in her place." Benjamin ran his hands through his hair, clearly frustrated. "What can I do? How do I fix this?" I smiled at him, the first genuine smile I'd managed all evening. "You don't have to fix anything, sweetheart. Just try to keep an open mind for the next few minutes, okay?" Before he could ask what I meant, I heard the sound of a powerful engine approaching. A sleek black limousine rounded the corner and glided up the circular driveway, stopping directly in front of the country club's main entrance. Through the large windows of the reception hall, I could see guests craning their necks to see who was arriving in such style. Diane's face appeared at the window, her eyebrows raised in curiosity. The chauffeur, Robert, stepped out wearing a perfectly pressed uniform. He'd been my driver for business events for almost 2 years, and he handled everything with the kind of discreet professionalism that made him worth every penny I paid him. "Good evening, Ms. Johnson," he said formally, loud enough for anyone within earshot to hear clearly. "Good evening, Robert. Do you have the documents I requested?" "Yes, ma'am. Everything is here." He handed me a leather portfolio that I knew contained property deeds, business licenses, and contracts that would change everything. Benjamin stared at me in confusion. "Angela, what?" "Ms. Johnson," Robert continued, his voice carrying across the quiet evening air. "I wanted to confirm the arrangements for next week's board meeting at the Meridian Properties headquarters, and the catering staff wanted me to tell you that tonight's reception is proceeding exactly as you specified." I saw Diane's face, in the window, change from curiosity to confusion, to something that might have been the beginning of understanding. "Thank you, Robert, and please give my compliments to the floral team. The arrangements turned out beautifully." "Shall I wait, Ms. Johnson?" "Yes, please. I think I'll need to have a conversation with some of the guests before we leave." Benjamin grabbed my arm gently. "Angela, I'm completely lost. What is he talking about? Meridian Properties? Board meetings? And why is he calling you Miss Johnson?" I turned to face him, and I could see that several guests had moved closer to the windows, clearly trying to overhear our conversation. "Perfect, Benjamin," I said, loud enough to carry. "There are some things about my business that I haven't fully explained to you. Robert works for me. He's my driver for corporate events and important meetings." "Your driver?" I opened the leather portfolio and pulled out the first document. "Meridian Properties is one of my companies. We specialize in acquiring and renovating historic properties." I handed him the deed, including this one. "I bought Rosewood Country Club 8 months ago." Benjamin stared at the document like it was written in a foreign language. You own this place, the club, the catering company, the florist, and about 300 acres of the surrounding land." I could see Diane pressing her face against the window now, clearly straining to hear every word. "I've been subsidizing tonight's reception as a wedding gift for Jessica. The champagne everyone's been drinking, the 5-course dinner, the string quartet, all of it arranged and paid for through my companies." Benjamin's mouth fell open. Behind him, I could see that more family members had gathered at the windows. The entire reception seemed to have paused to watch our conversation. "But why didn't you tell me? I was planning to surprise you. I thought it would be fun to reveal it at our anniversary. I never imagined your mother would decide to use your sister's wedding as an opportunity to humiliate me." I took the deed back and looked toward the window where Diane stood frozen. "She told me I don't understand your family's standards, that I don't belong here, that I'm embarrassing you and this family with my presence." Benjamin followed my gaze to his mother's face in the window. "Oh God, Angela, I'm so sorry. She gave you an ultimatum," I continued. "Choose between her and me. Between your real family and the woman who apparently doesn't understand breeding and background." I closed the portfolio and looked directly at Diane through the glass. "So now I'm going to give her a choice of her own." I walked toward the entrance with Benjamin beside me, still looking stunned. Robert followed at a respectful distance, every inch the professional chauffeur. The guests inside scattered from the windows as we approached, pretending they hadn't been eavesdropping on every word. When I walked back into the reception hall, the silence was absolute. Jessica stood by her new husband, looking mortified that her wedding had become the stage for family drama. The other guests tried to pretend they were having normal conversations, but I could feel their attention focused on me like a laser. Diane stood by the champagne fountain, where we'd had our earlier confrontation, her face pale and her hands shaking slightly. I walked directly to her, stopping just close enough that everyone nearby could hear our conversation clearly. "Diane," I said pleasantly, "I believe we were in the middle of a discussion about family standards and whether I belong here." She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. "You see, there seems to have been a misunderstanding. You assumed that because I'm a black woman wearing a simple dress, I must not understand the finer things in life. You assumed I was some kind of gold digger who trapped your son. You decided, based on nothing but your own prejudices, that I wasn't good enough for your family." The conversations around us had stopped completely. Even the string quartet had gone silent. "What you didn't know," I continued, "is that I own this country club. I own the company that provided tonight's catering. I own the business that created those beautiful floral arrangements you've been admiring all evening. Every champagne flute, every piece of silverware, every elegant detail you've been praising. It all belongs to me." Diane's face had gone from pale to gray. She gripped the edge of the champagne table, like she might fall over. "I bought this place because I saw its potential, because I appreciate beautiful things, because I have what you might call refined taste. I've been subsidizing Jessica's entire wedding reception as a gift to my husband's family, the family that just told me I don't belong." Benjamin moved closer to me, and I could see pride mixing with shock in his expression. "So now," I said, looking directly into Diane's eyes, I'm going to give you the same choice you gave your son. You can apologize for your behavior, acknowledge that you were wrong about me, and we can continue celebrating Jessica's beautiful wedding. Or ... I paused, letting the alternative hang in the air. Or I can exercise my rights as the owner of this property and the employer of every staff member here. Your choice. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. I could see Jessica holding her breath, Benjamin staring at his mother, and dozens of guests frozen in anticipation. Finally, Diane's voice came out as barely more than a whisper. I didn't know. You didn't know because you never bothered to ask. You saw what you expected to see and treated me accordingly. I kept my voice level, professional. I'm not interested in humiliating you, Diane. I'm interested in respect. The same respect you'd show any other member of this family. Diane looked around the room, clearly aware that everyone was watching her, waiting for her response. The woman who'd been so confident in her superiority 30 minutes earlier now looked small and lost. I apologize, she said finally. I made assumptions. I was wrong. It wasn't the most gracious apology in the world, but it was a start. Thank you, I replied simply. I think we can move forward from here. I turned to Robert, who had been standing quietly by the entrance. I won't be needing the car tonight after all. Please tell the staff they've done an excellent job this evening. Of course, Ms. Johnson. Will there be anything else? Just make sure everyone knows how much I appreciate their hard work. And please, have my assistant send a bonus to the entire team on Monday. As Robert left, I could feel the energy in the room slowly returning to normal. Conversations resumed, though I knew they'd all be about what had just happened. Jessica approached me with tears in her eyes. Angela, I am so sorry. I had no idea Mom would... It's your wedding day, I interrupted gently. This is about celebrating you and your new husband. Let's not let family drama overshadow that. She hugged me tightly. Thank you for everything. I mean it. Benjamin put his arm around me as Jessica returned to her reception. I can't believe you own all of this. There's a lot you don't know about my business dealings, I said, smiling at him. But that's a conversation for another time. Are you okay? That couldn't have been easy. I looked around the room, at Diane, standing quietly by herself, at the other family members who were looking at me with new eyes, at Benjamin, whose love and support had never wavered, even when he didn't understand what was happening. I'm more than okay, I said. I'm proud. Proud that I handled it with dignity, proud that I stood up for myself, and proud that your family now knows exactly who they're dealing with. The rest of the reception passed without incident. Diane kept her distance, but I noticed her watching me differently. Not with the disdain and dismissal she'd shown before, but with something that might have been respect, or at least wariness. Other family members approached me throughout the evening, making conversation that felt more genuine than anything I'd experienced with Benjamin's relatives before. The power dynamic had shifted completely, and while I wished it hadn't been necessary, I couldn't deny it felt good to finally be seen as more than just Benjamin's unsuitable wife. As we drove home that night, Benjamin was quiet for a long time. Penny, for your thoughts, I said finally. I'm just processing, he replied. My wife owns a country club. My wife has been secretly paying for my sister's wedding. My wife is apparently much more successful than I ever realized, and my mother tried to humiliate her at a family event. Does any of that change how you feel about me? He was quiet for another moment, then reached over to take my hand. It makes me love you more, not because of the money or the property or any of that. Because of how you handled tonight. You could have destroyed my mother in front of everyone. You could have thrown us all out, embarrassed the whole family, made Jessica's wedding about revenge. But you didn't. I just wanted respect. You got it. From everyone in that room, including me. I've always known you were amazing, but tonight I saw exactly how strong and gracious and powerful you really are. I squeezed his hand. Your mother and I will probably never be best friends, but hopefully we can coexist peacefully now. She was way out of line. What she said to you, the way she tried to humiliate you. I should have stopped it sooner. You couldn't have known it would escalate like that. Besides, I'm glad it happened. Really? I thought about it for a moment. Yes. Because now there are no more secrets, no more assumptions, no more treating me like I'm not good enough. Your family knows exactly who I am now, and they'll treat me accordingly. 3 months later, I still think about that night sometimes. Diane and I have reached a kind of detente. She's never going to love having a black daughter-in-law, but she respects me now in a way she never did before. Benjamin and I have started having more honest conversations about money and business and the life we want to build together. And Jessica sends me a thank you card every month for making her wedding perfect. The truth is, I didn't want to reveal my wealth that way. I would have preferred to keep living quietly, supporting my husband's family from the background, building relationships based on who I am rather than what I own. But sometimes people force your hand. Sometimes you have to show your strength to get the respect you deserve. I'll never regret standing up for myself that night. I'll never regret demanding to be treated with dignity, and I'll definitely never regret the look on Diane's face when she realized the woman she was trying to humiliate actually owned everything around her. Because at the end of the day, true class isn't about money or property or limousines. It's about how you treat people, how you handle adversity, and whether you have the courage to stand up for what's right. That night, I proved I had all three. If this story taught you anything, it's that you should never judge someone by their appearance or make assumptions about their background. Angela's grace under pressure and ultimate triumph shows that true class isn't about money. It's about character. What would you have done in Angela's situation? Let me know in the comments below. And if you loved this story of justice served cold, smash that like button, subscribe for more incredible tales, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, karma has a way of evening the score. Until next time, keep believing that good things happen to good people.